I have a feeling that you're going to be seeing this sweater and necklace combination a lot this next month because I just rediscovered it and I like it. Hey guys, it's Sam and I'm here to do my January wrap-up. So I had a kind of roller coaster month for reading, but I define it by the highs that I had because the good books that I read were so good that I'm still reeling from them. So I started off 2015 with a fantastic choice, and that was Gathering Darkness by Morgan Rhodes. This is the third book in the Fallen Kingdom series, and my favorite so far of all of them. Absolutely adore this book, and I'm still thinking about it. Obviously, since this is a third book, I can't really say a ton about it, but this series is a young adult fantasy series, and a lot of people describe it as Game of Thrones light, but it's a lot of that kind of political intrigue, magical things going on, you follow different perspectives, etc. I love it. The books keep getting better with every single release, and the character development that we are getting is fantastic. I have two favorite characters, and the book, I feel like this book kind of focused a little more on those two, and I loved it. So, this was a great way to start 2015. If you haven't started the Fallen Kingdom series and you're at all a little bit interested, definitely check it out. I'm thinking about doing a review / discussion of the first 3 books because I want them to get more attention, but I feel bad breaking the series up. I'd rather just wait until all 6 books are released, but that's gonna be in like 3 more years, and I kind of want to talk about it right now. So if you're interested in seeing like a half of the series review discussion, comment down below and let me know because I kind of want permission to do it. So obviously I gave Gathering Darkness by Morgan Rhodes 5 out of 5 stars. After reading Gathering Darkness, I wanted a bit of a break before jumping into more fantasy, so I decided to pick up Eleanor Park by Rainbow Rowell. This is the first full-length book that I have read by Rainbow Rowell. I read the short story that she had in My True Love Gave to Me, and that was the first thing I ever read by her. I really liked that, but this is the first full-length novel I've picked up. Eleanor Park is very popular here on BookTube, but if you don't know what it's about, it is about 2 teenagers in the 80s growing up who fall in love. And it is very quirky, it's very cute, there's a lot of 80s references which you don't need to understand, but it's nice if you do understand the 80s references, and it's 2 very realistic characters. I have already actually filmed a review on this, which will be posted later on in February, so I'll definitely check that out if you are interested to hear more of my thoughts about it, but this is a very realistic book. And I liked a lot of things that it talked about and how a lot of things were handled, but ultimately I didn't love it because I couldn't connect to the love story for some reason. It's very possible I was still in a book hangover from Gathering Darkness. It's possible that this just wasn't the love story for me. I know a lot of you are going to be like, what are you talking about? I just couldn't connect to the love story in this book for some reason, and because of that I couldn't give it a higher rating because I rate contemporary love stories and how I feel about the love story. So ultimately I gave this book about 3 or 3.5 stars. It just didn't stick with me like a lot of people say that this book stuck with them, and I'm looking forward to more Rainbow Rowell's books. I do enjoy her writing. This one just wasn't for me. I then picked up Zodiac by Damn it. I then picked up Zodiac by Romina Russell, and this is a YA science fiction series, and as you may have guessed, it kind of has to do with the Zodiac. Basically, this galaxy, every different planet and kind of planet system are named after the Zodiac. So Leo, Capricorn, Aries, etc. And they each have their own unique culture. Within that culture, religion, everything. It's a very, very cool and interesting concept. This is the first book in a trilogy. As our main character, Rowell, and she is going to school on this different planet. She is from Cancer, and something happens that is devastating to the planet, and kind of intergalactic war almost takes off from there, so I don't want to give too much away about this series. It's kind of best to go in blind to this one. Ultimately with this book, I didn't feel like it lived up to my expectations, number 1, and number 2, I just felt like it was very info-dumpy. You get a lot of these different worlds, you get to see a lot of different places within this book, but I ultimately felt like it was a little bit too much for the first book, and that if it was cut down a little bit more, it would have been a lot easier to kind of digest all of that, because a lot of times I felt like I was just a little lost because there was so much information we were given. It also would have benefited from having a map. Additionally, I didn't really connect to the main character, and there is a bit of a love triangle in this, which I didn't really enjoy. You guys know that I do enjoy love triangles sometimes, but this was one that I just didn't really like that much. So ultimately, I end up giving Zodiac 3 stars, but I'm looking forward to the sequel. The last 50 or so pages of this had something happen that made me look more forward to the sequel, so I will be continuing with this series, and if you're into science fiction, I would definitely recommend still picking this up and see what you think for yourself. So next up comes the highlight of my month, pretty much. For those of you that follow me on Twitter, you might already know what I'm going to talk about. But the next book that I read was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I buddy read this entire series this month with Kristin from Cap89X and Sarah Jane from The Book Life, and it was amazing. Yeah, so you guys already know kind of how I feel about it. So for those of you that don't know, Shadow and Bone is the first book in a YA fantasy trilogy, and it is set in a world that is a lot like Imperial Russia, but in this world there are people that have magical abilities called the Grisha, and our main character is in the First Army, which is the not magically inclined army, and she's going on a kind of mission with her regiment, or whatever you want to call it, and something happens during that mission, and things kind of take off from there. I absolutely adored this book. I loved how the magic was explained in this book and how everything with the Grisha world works, and just the world building and the writing and how fast-paced it was. And the main character in here is excellent, and I absolutely adore her, so I end up giving Shadow and Bone 4.5 stars. Continuing on that same track, I picked up Siege and Storm, which is the second book in the Grisha trilogy, and this is my favorite book in the series. I love it. This just continues the story, and I loved the main character even more in this book. She became one of my top 3 favorite characters, along with Leah from The Kiss of Deception and Kestrel from The Winter's Curse, so she's high up there. She's ranked with those two. It's a big deal. I absolutely adore this main character. The character development that we get within these books is amazing, and I adore it. And there's also pirates in this book. So for those of you that know me a little bit, yeah, pirates. So why do you think I love this book so much? It's one of the many reasons. So I ended up giving Siege and Storm 5 out of 5 stars. I then took a little bit of a break from the Grisha trilogy because it was Ribsat. I actually have my Ribsat wrap-up posted down below if you want to check that out, but I'm talking about a lot of the same books, so you don't have to if you don't want to. So I took a little bit of a break, and I then picked up Seraphina by Rachel Hartman. This is the first book in another YA fantasy series, and it is about a girl who is half dragon. And in this world there are dragons and there are humans, and the relationship between humans and dragons isn't very good. Pretty typical of a lot of fantasies, but dragons can turn into humans in this world. So I did really enjoy this book. I enjoyed the world building, but it is very slow, and I had heard that before. It is a very slow paced book, so the first half is really slow, and it was kind of hard to slog through that, but if you enjoy books with really good world building, I would definitely recommend this because the world in here is very different and very interesting, but as I said, it is a slower read, so if you aren't really into slower reads, I wouldn't recommend this. But I am really interested to pick up the sequel, which is Shadow Scale. It's coming out, I think, March or something of this year, so I am interested to see how I feel about that one and if the plot kind of picks up a little more within that one, but the world in here was really beautiful. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I then picked up The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. This is the first book in the Darkest Minds trilogy. It is set in a dystopian world where the kids that have survived this disease that has only struck children, the survivors of that disease end up developing kind of superpowers, kind of like X-Men, but those kids are put into kind of concentration camps and kept away from everybody else. So the main character in this book is one of those people that has a certain kind of ability, and she is kept in this concentration camp, and that's where we kind of pick up with her story. I didn't like this book as much as I was expecting. I found it very slow. It is very much like kind of a survivalist story. I was expecting a little bit more action from this, but it is very much a survivalist, almost feels a little post-apocalyptic to me, and I wasn't really expecting that. I'm not a huge fan of those narratives. It kind of depends, and this one I just wasn't really a fan of. I couldn't connect to the characters really. I couldn't connect to the romance in this. I liked some of the side characters, but it wasn't really enough for me to really love the book the way that I was expecting to. So I ended up giving The Darkest Minds 3 stars. I do plan on continuing with the series. I'm just not in any rush to continue it right now. And then came the probably highlight of the month, but also left me broken. And that is Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo, the third book in the Grisha trilogy. I have a lot of feelings about this book. I have a lot of feelings about the entire series. I've already filmed a review and gush for you guys, which is my version of discussion video for those of you that don't know, and that is going to be posted on Monday, so if you guys have read this series, definitely go and check that out, or if you want to know more about my feelings on the series, just with the review, check that out. But this book, I can't talk about it. I finished it a few days ago, and I'm still so conflicted about it. Sarah Jane and Kristin and I have had continuous Voxer messages going on about this, probably like hours of conversation about this book. We're actually thinking about doing a Google Hangout in the next week or so to talk about this book in like a live show, because we just have so many emotions. So this was a very interesting conclusion. I loved it. I had a lot of emotions. As I said, this book brought me to tears multiple times, but I'm still very conflicted about it. I'm not sure. I originally in my review said I was going to give it a 4.5 stars, but at the same time, I kind of want to give it 5 because it's broken me, guys. I'm a broken person. I sit on Tumblr at night and look through the Grisha Trilogy tag over and over again. I watch fan videos. I listen to music and think of the series like I'm a broken woman right now. So I think ultimately I will end up giving this book a 5 stars, even though I didn't enjoy the ending as much as I would have liked to. Go and check out my discussion or review. I can't talk about it anymore because it's... Ugh. So 4.75 to 5 stars for Rune and Rising. After Rune and Rising, I knew I couldn't pick up another fantasy or anything fantastical because I would just be judging it too harshly because of my emotions that I was having, so I picked up The Distance Between Us by Kasie West. And it's just a cute contemporary book, exactly what I expected it to be. It is about a girl who is poorer. Her and her mother own a doll shop and they are very much financially struggling, and they're kind of prejudiced against rich people. A rich boy comes into the store once and they kind of end up forming a friendship, etc., etc. It's a storyline we've all heard before, but it's very cute. I ended up really enjoying this more than I thought I was going to. The ending was a little more cliche. I was kind of willing to forgive the cliche things at the beginning, but towards the end it was just kind of starting to wear me down a little bit. So I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. I really liked it. If you want something cute and fluffy, this is definitely a great book. If you kind of need to recover and you just need something happy, this is perfect for that. So as I said, 3 to 3.5 stars. Alright guys, that is it for my January wrap-up. Comment down below and let me know how you guys did as far as your first month of 2015 reading. I had a great month. As I said, I'm broken. I have a lot of emotions, but I had a great month. So comment down below and let me know how yours was. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!